Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Bauer from Connected Curb, and welcome everyone to Greenfleet. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us today. Today, I am joined by Kim Harrison from Crown Commercial Service, CCS, and Stephen Rennie from Connected Curb. And today we're going to talk about a project for the Ministry of Justice, the MOJ, where they used the Crown Commercial Service dynamic purchasing system. And Connected Curb were one of a number of vendors that were successful in securing some work off that bid. So we're going to talk about the process and the dynamics of how this system works and why Connected Curb won the work and how Crown Commercial Services helped them. So without any further ado, I'm going to come straight to you, Kim, if I may. Good morning.
Good morning.
So first of all, can you just tell us a little bit about fleet at Crown Commercial Service and how vehicle charging infrastructure fits in?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's start off really with taking into consideration the huge range of customers across the public sector that we work with, their diverse objectives and operations, meaning that in response, we take a solutions-based approach to fleet. We deliberately make available a really wide range of products and services for all vehicles, shapes and sizes, all fuel trains, importantly, and all funding models and supplementary services. A couple of years ago, we recognised that lots of our customers needed help and options available to them to help them transition their fleets over to greener vehicles. We know that they wanted to develop strategies to decarbonise their businesses, and that vehicle charging infrastructure was at the forefront of that. That was the best place to start. So we therefore developed the solution that you've talked about, our dynamic purchasing system, which allows the new suppliers to join at any point. And it offers a full end-to-end of products and services that are readily available from the suppliers in the market. So from initial advice and feasibility studies through to design, the installation, and then the back office systems and maintenance, just to name but a few.
Okay, all right. So it's interesting because it's that service that the Ministry of Justice came to. Now, just to give you some context, before I ask Steve to talk about how they helped address it, the challenge the MOJ had was that they'd been given some budget and quite a tight time frame in which to deliver a combination of, I think, some solar panels, but also some electric vehicle infrastructure, charging infrastructure. So their challenge was, we need to install across, I think it was over 40 sites, over a couple of hundred charging units, and they felt that the best way for them to do that was to access multiple suppliers. And CCS, Crown Commercial Service, gave them a perfect platform to do that. And that's what they chose to do. They ran a number of lots and they used a number of suppliers to deliver this project, which, they had a very finite time frame of March the 31st, a time frame that I guess many of you will be familiar with. So Steve, against that backdrop, the tender comes out on the Crown Commercial Service portal, and you've got to assess it as an organisation. What made you choose to go for this project with the Ministry of Justice?
Yeah, I mean, it fitted in really well with our growth plans. Really, I mean, we're delighted to be in the DPS that Crown Commercial Service have put out. I think it's a huge advantage to new suppliers, of which we are fairly new and offering new innovative solutions, but I think it's hugely beneficial to customers as well, just because they get that wider spread of suppliers. But for us, we went for it. We're working with a lot of local authorities at the moment, so we're probably doing 30 local authority projects at the moment and a lot of private sector work as well. But to the opportunity to work with a central government agency is hugely attractive to us. They've obviously got really ambitious aims in terms of adopting electric vehicles, and it's a really good opportunity for us to help them prepare for the future and allow them to look at how they should expand charging infrastructure. So not just how to put in chargers now, but how to look at the next 5 to 10 years and how they should approach that. And plus as well, we like a challenge as a company. These type of tenders are historically won by perhaps what you classed as bigger players in the market, but we feel we offer something unique. We got a really strong installation partner working with us in this project in Volker, a strong health and safety advisors, WT partnership, and we offer a lot of innovation in terms of what we can give this customer. So we use recycled materials in our chargers, so we really help from a sustainable perspective. And provide a higher level of future proofing than what you might expect. So our units can integrate with wireless chargers in the futures, and we can do all sorts of things like hang air quality sensors off our units. So for us, we went for it because we could meet the requirements, but we felt we could kind of go over and above that as well.
Okay, so like anyone responding to a tender, that what they required matched your requirements. And I think you're going to talk about it a bit later when we get onto it, but the structure of their tender and the way it was presented at Crown Commercial Services meant that it was actually doable, as it were.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So and I suppose that leads me nicely, Kim, onto the question of the challenges, or the most common challenges that potentially people have when they're embarking upon this world of EV charging, which is still relatively new, and some of the pitfalls and challenges that they come into. What is it that gets in the way sometimes?
Well, it's a couple of things really, and all stemming from what you've just described and what Steve said about the relative newness of the market, and we're in a sort of lots of development, there's lots of innovation. Our customers themselves aren't really sure on what the products and services are, which therefore makes it quite tricky for them to specify and nail something down for a contract to then ask the right questions of the market. One anecdotal thing to share on this is customers quite often ask us, so how much is my charging network going to cost, or how much is a single charging unit, and then I'll multiply it by my number of sites. And really our response is, well, it's not that simple, and it does depend. Customers may also as well want to jump to the conclusion that they want the ultimate sort of premium solution of an ultra rapid charger if they can get that in their fleets, not sort of foreseeing the future problems that could sort of hinder their network expansion. Some of the challenges our customers seem to face is understanding their estates and their sites as they are, and perhaps not appreciating that they need to do an initial phase of work to do some feasibility studies, some site studies to really understand the potential of the charging infrastructure locations and the power sources. So often that's a standalone piece of service that a customer will have to commission up front.
Okay, all right, and I think, as you say, it's new. I mean, Steve, I was going to ask you about the challenging aspects of this tender. But I think sort of the flip side as a supplier, talking to Kim's point about some of the mistakes, for want of a better word, that potential clients make when they're putting tenders together. I know we've talked about this before in terms of, sometimes they exclude certain possibilities by stating a contract length, or they negate the ability to access to certain finance models by requesting things in a certain way. What were the challenges with this, and maybe more generally as well?
Yeah, I mean, we see such a wide variance in terms of tenders being released, and without being too critical of some of them, I think they're definitely lacking in being robust enough to actually give the client what they want, and within a kind of cost-effective framework as well. And you'll be used to me moaning about tenders when they come out in terms of perhaps what's been omitted, but this was really robust. Actually, it was the other end of the extreme. So it was really robust technical specification, which it clearly done a lot of pre-tender work with consultants in terms of looking at sites, but looking at that tender spec. So it was the other end of the scale, really. So for us as a supplier, and to be fair, it's great that it's like that from a customer point of view, because it does protect them. It means they get what they need. And there's a lot of conditions in there which need to be met, which is absolutely exactly what it should, as it should be. So from us as a supplier point of view, it gave us probably a bit more work in terms of just ensuring that every element of that technical spec could be demonstrably met, which we were able to do. And there was a lot in there around, which again was really well done. How are you going to survey and to cover for every eventuality. So we had to put in costs for potential asbestos surveys, architectural surveys, so really going to the nth degree. But I suppose from a client point of view, it meant they had full transparency over costs, which I think is inevitably a good thing. So from us, it was quite an onerous tender submission, but that's the way it should be if you're looking for a quality supplier. So the list of quality questions was long, but it included all the things that you need it to include. So health and safety considerations, sustainability, who your project team is, quality of the kit. So yeah, I'd much rather that than it be the other end of the scale when you get 3 quality questions and they don't give you a scope to put forward, what you feel your selling points are.
So kind of kudos to the Ministry of Justice for putting together a tender that was, good to respond to and thorough. Which
even though it took us a long time. Definitely it didn't. There weren't as many holes as what we probably typically expect to see.
Okay. Well, Kim, I guess we've talked about challenges and we've talked about some of the pitfalls and what the Crown Commercial Service offers people. I suppose it comes to that point of, as many people are embarking upon this journey, for the first time, or they've only done it once before and it was experimental. What sort of advice would you give to someone sort of embarking on the that journey for EV infrastructure?
I would say let's learn the lessons from what Stephen's just described with the MOJ. That the good position that the MOJ got into with their tender documents and their sort of contract arrangement was no coincidence. I believe it's because they engaged with the industry and the experts from the very outset. And that would be my one piece of takeaway advice: is early market engagement. There are plenty of things that we can learn from suppliers in the market and other experts. It's invaluable. For example, customers might not even be aware of the different funding options available. So it's a discovery there, really, to know about outright purchase, leasing, cost neutral systems, or indeed a concessionaire model. I think this part of sort of market engagement gives customers a little bit of confidence as well to do things like the phased approach that MOJ took. So not having to transition everything on day one. It doesn't have to go 100% green vehicles with 100% of your charging infrastructure straight away. Doing it in lotted structures or a phased approach over time is actually what we've seen probably a more successful way to go about the transition to green. And to be able to do that and engage with the market, what I would say is that's what CCS are here for. So if people are not feeling comfortable, particularly in the public sector, with that pre-market engagement before they have any tender documents, we can certainly help with that.
Okay, yeah, and it is a complex arena. So getting help and advice, I think, seems to be the underlying message, whether it's engaging with experts like yourself, and also tapping into the industry. So Steve, on that, well, one of the reasons you're on this call is that you were successful in the bid. How did it go, and why did you win it, I suppose?
Yeah, it's gone well, actually. Yeah, it's been great, actually, just to be involved in as a project. So the feedback in terms of the tender submission that we put in is we scored well in terms of the health and safety element. We've got, particularly now, actually, in terms of times of COVID, you need to have robust policies in place, and not just policies, but be able to demonstrate your approach to health and safety. So we scored really well on that. The experience of our project team, we're quite new as a company. Been in charges for a couple of years, but a lot of people that we have in the team now have been in the industry for up to 10 years. So I think we scored well in terms of our project team. And notably in our sustainability focus as well. So we mentioned we use recycled material in our chargers, but that approach runs throughout the company in terms of waste reduction plans. We all drive electric vehicles, so it's a really strong focus on the environment, which shone through. So yeah, that was really in terms of, I think, where we scored well in the submission and some of the innovations that we can offer going forward. And the project's gone well in terms of learnings. I think this one, actually, because there's quite a lot of sensitive sites, obviously, throughout the prison estate, and a number of different stakeholders. We've got the MOJ, the sites themselves, up to governor level, facilities managers, and then a consultancy element as well. It's fundamental to any project, but just really good communication at an early stage. Particularly this project actually was really, really pressing time frame, but where I think we've been able to deliver, and I don't think I'm putting words into the MOJ's mouth by saying that they're happy with our performance to date, but I think that has been down to really early engagement with the right people. So to make sure we're talking to the right person on site, but making sure that, what chain of approvals do they have once we've submitted all our risk assessments and method statements. So who has to see those, and security clearances as well. So for us, just at the outset, being very clear on exactly what steps need to take place from the survey, in fact, before the survey stage, up to final commissioning and handover, and who's responsible for each of those steps, and who do we need to be talking to. So that's something we knew already, but it's just to emphasize that learning, I think, throughout the project. It's obviously have all the equipment in stock. We make our own units, so that's fine from that point of view, and the technical side's all fine. But just fundamentally, how do you sort out a multi-stakeholder project? And unless you do it well at the start, it's just going to get very messy.
Okay, yeah, and these installations are, project management is king in these in these things. Well, look, we could go on all day, but we don't have that opportunity. I mean, just taking what you've both been saying, there's quite a lot of common ground there. I think there's some lessons to be learned in terms of anyone who's embarking upon this. One, a DPS gives you flexibility, access to multiple suppliers and relatively new ones, as opposed to sort of maybe stagnant frameworks. And it also sounds as if, their ability to run multiple vendors across the framework work well as well. And both of you seem to have said to potential people buying is, don't limit yourself to certain commercial models and contract lengths, because different variants on those will open up different possibilities, and seek expertise. Well, look, the good news is that I know we've worked on other projects successfully with Crown Commercial Service, with local authorities, and who knows, we may be back talking about those one day. So we're delighted to be working with Crown Commercial Services. Well done, Steve, for winning that business with the MOJ, and well done to everyone back at the ranch who's obviously helped deliver a good project. So thank you very much, everyone, and I guess we'll see you on the panel in a moment. Thank you very much.